I just saw something that I kind of knew was going to happen for a long time, and it has to do with the medical technology advancing in mammalian reproduction. And before, just if you didn't know, they've been doing tests about how to raise like reptilian and like bird eggs outside of the shell. And they've been figuring that out, and that was easy enough. Now they've gotten to a point where they can certain mammalian species. I think I saw it in on a lamb or a goat or something like that inside an artificial womb. So what that now means is mammal fetuses are now able to be viable outside of a mammal womb, provided they can find and source an artificial mammal womb. This is going to change the whole landscape of reproductive rights. This is going to this is going to take away a lot of the gray and a lot of the moral ambiguity in what an abortion is and whether or not an abortion is moral. Because the number one hangup with abortion is it's a battle between the will of two people, the rights of two people. And that's why it's so polarizing. Obviously one side tries to negate that argument by saying a fetus isn't a person. But that's going to be that now at this point is almost a mute point, because you can see now there's not a veil of flesh covering over the womb for you to stop the images of a fetus, of an embryo growing into a fetus, growing into a baby. There's nothing stopping you from seeing that now. So now you're just going to see it as a transition of life stages, no different from a baby to a toddler to a teen to an adult to an elderly person. And also what it does is it takes away this concept of my body, my choice. Because when you're talking about 99% of abortion cases, what you're talking about is somebody who's already made a consensual choice with their body that they knew, if they rolled the dice enough, could result in them being pregnant or getting a woman pregnant. And now we're getting to a point in science and in technology where, obviously we can do this with lambs now. I think that's what I was. You can fact check me on that. But it's not going to be a far jump and a big stretch to make. Then now we're going to be able to do this with human embryos. And once we're able to make something financially accessible, like an artificial womb, what right then does a woman have to end the life of an embryo when it can just be extracted from her safely without damaging it or hurting it and put into an artificial womb? Because now there's no danger to her body. Now there's no competing of her right to be not pregnant and the human being's right to grow and live. There's no competition between those two wills. And here's the thing, what that also is going to show is that's also going to highlight the fact that even when, and it's currently now, even when that argument was relevant, because it was something we were still putting up with as a whole bunch of humans in society, us trying to balance the rights between a mother and her unborn child who's alive. Even now, with that being a relevant argument, what this whole artificial womb is going to do is just highlight the fact that at the end of the day, it was the woman, the adult, in 98% of the cases, who had consensual sex, made a knowing decision to risk putting herself in jeopardy of being pregnant, and if she doesn't want to be pregnant, putting another human being's life in jeopardy of being ended just so she doesn't have to be pregnant. It's going to highlight the evilness and the narcissism of abortion. That's what this technology is going to do, because it's going to unblur all the lines. And I urge you, if you are a proponent of abortions, you have 15 to 25 years before this technology becomes commercialized, probably for surrogate use. Women who have problems with fertility, they're going to be able to rent artificial wombs. And once this technology becomes a thing for surrogate use, it's going to light a fire under the anti-abortion debate, the likes of which you've never seen. And you're going to have to answer very tough questions, because if you're still fighting for abortions, you're going to have to answer fucking why. Why is it that you have to kill this child now when you don't have to be pregnant with it? Also, since you created this child, much like fathers need to pay child support, regardless of whether they want to be a father or not, they created a child with their consensual sex. What stops you from being the one who has to rent the womb, who has to pay for the womb, who has to make sure the child is cared for in that artificial womb, and make sure that child, after it's born, is taken care of? Women don't understand this. For a long time, you've gotten preferential treatment because of how unique, heavy, and daunting being the wielder of a womb was. Once that is not something that you solely own, you are now seen as a man. You are now, and men, when they create a life, doesn't matter. They got to take care of it. So now, when the monopoly of being the womb owner is taken from you, and there is another option for that baby and that embryo to be raised and grown in, what is the moral justification that you as a woman have to kill that life that you created when there's another option? I mean, you could have always put it up for adoption, but now that embryo is viable from day one, because it can just be taken out of your body and put into an artificial womb, instead of killed and sucked out of your body via abortion. And when it's continuing to grow in that artificial womb, who's going to pay for the nutrients? Who's going to pay for the electricity for that womb? Who's going to help subsidize the facilities that artificial womb is connected to and needs for it to run off of? It's going to be the woman. It's going to be the mother. And if she's being promiscuous and she doesn't know who the father is, it's going to be all her and only her. So this is really gonna put irresponsible sexual activity that is consensual under a microscope, and it's gonna revitalize a whole lot of the things that pro-lifers have been trying to say about the current state of abortions now, and how it's too far gone, and there's too much narcissism and not enough care for these unborn children as it stands right now. It's going to bring a lot of that up, and you got to get, hey man, if you're on the pro-choice side, if this doesn't ring a bell in your head, I don't know what to tell you. I personally don't know what to tell you. There's artificial wombs now. Now what is your excuse for being so selfish to kill a child that you created when it doesn't need to die? I mean, it never needed to die. You could have always owned up to the decision that you made, toughed out a pregnancy, toughed out a birth, and gave it up for adoption. You could have always done that. That was always a choice. But now you don't even have to be pregnant with it. You don't even have to risk your body, and you don't even have to risk your body to birth. So now, with this artificial womb technology, what is your excuse to be a narcissist? What is your excuse to be selfish? What is your excuse to kill a life that you created? Let me know.